for Pavilion and Millennium Park. Located in the heart of the Gold Coast, the Clare is Chicago's premier retirement community. To learn more, call 312-784-8015 or visit theclaire.com. This is Classical WFN2 Chicago, 98.7 FM, HD1, WFN2.com, and the WFN2 app. Tonight's broadcast of Exploring Music with Bill McLaughlin is presented in part by Wintrust Community Banks. When you find a location near you, visit wintrust.com/find us and stay safe.
Hello there. Welcome to Exploring Music. It's Bill McLaughlin here. Our theme this week, American Masters Part 2. Once again, I'll have to confess that I'm stealing that title from one of my favorite public television series, which examines various American artists. It turns out you cannot copyright the title of this show, so with all due respect and affection for the people who make that wonderful television series, it's going to be American Masters this week. We took our first step in this direction a little over a year ago, delving into the music of some composers who came of age in the 1920s and 30s. And it occurred to me, when I got done that week, that I left out some really interesting composers who come just before that period. So let's start in with an American impressionist, not a French impressionist, but a man born in Elmira, New York, Charles Tomlinson Griffiths, born 1884. Let's see, the next man about 9 years younger than Maurice Ravel, one of the composers whom we really admired. Griffiths loved Ravel, loved Debussy, loved Mussorgsky, loved Scriabin, and it wasn't long before.
Into executive session. We'll move right on with the agenda and discover Mokena Park Martini.
The community calendar for June 2022, from June 13th to the 17th, we are having early voting available at the Village Hall for the June 28th general primary election. The voting times are from 8:30 a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. at the Village Hall. Like I said, June 15th, the Village of Mokena food trucks on front. For more information, visit mokena.org or call 708-479-3900. The time is from 4 o'clock p.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. at the Metro Lot on Front Street. June 15th is also the Mokena Park District's Summer Drive-In Movies. They're showing The Goonies, $10 per vehicle. Registration and more information is at www.mokenapark.com. Movie starts at 8:45 at 10847 West LaPorte Road. June 20th to the 24th, the early voting will again be available at the Village Hall for the June 28th general primary election. Voting times are from 8:30 a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. June 20th, the Village Board work session begins at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Village Hall. June 20th, the Mokena Fire Department's CPR class is from 6 o'clock p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at 19853 South Wolf Road. For more information or to register online at mokenafire.com, mokenafire.org or at station number 1. June 21st is a recycle day. June 22nd, the Mokena Community Park District's free outdoor concert at Yunker Park Bandshell is at 7 o'clock p.m. at 10824 LaPorte Road. The performer will be the Baked Potatoes. June 27th, the Village Board of Trustee meeting starts at 7 o'clock p.m. at the Village Hall.
Thank you, Clerk. Okay, next item on the agenda is public comments. Anyone here for public comments? Hello, Jimmy.
My name is Jim Slagle. I live at 10732 Revere Road, Mokena. I will thank you for allowing me the 3 minutes, and I will respectfully sit down when my time is up. I respect Mr. Moran's service as a Vietnam soldier for his career as a Will County police officer and his 30 years as a volunteer member of the Mokena Fire and Police Commissioner. I hope that Mr. Moran and I can agree to disagree and invite him to lunch with me, the Little Al's, and many others that would be interested in joining us. Mr. Moran has earned the right to address the village board like all residents. He should be given a reasonable amount of time rather than limited 3 minutes. He does have important information to share, which I think a lot of residents are interested. But Mr. Moran's position should be heard, but it suggested that the mayor and the board should resign, and that Mr. Butts and Carl should be fired is inappropriate. They should not resign. They should realize they have the support of Mokena residents, who, like myself, probably voted for them. If Mr. Moran wants regime change, he should use the ballot box and not intimidating very good people who represent of our village board concerned over the safety of our village residents. I support the mayor and the village in pursuing this case in Will County Courthouse with the limited number of facts I know surrounding this case, but I appreciate the Mokena patch on doing an excellent job of reporting and sharing the court's decision. The responsibility for the safety of our police officers, residents, and business rests and ends on Mayor's Frank desk, not on some judge sitting at a bench surrounded by armed guards in Joliet that requires security check for all visitors. When I saw this article, I thought of Mayor Frank in the village. It says, surely we can do better to protect our kids. I think Mayor Frank and the village have been doing, I think Mayor Fletcher takes his responsibility for all our safety to heart. Mayor and the board have the police department's back as shown by the following accomplishment. Approval of a new police station, including a first-class gun range to ensure that our officers are properly trained. Purchase of 2 drones, installing license plates, hiring additional police officers, and 7 new vehicles. In the math of the Texas school shootings, we should realize that leadership and time measured in minutes is critical. The judge should not put barriers in the way of the resources and leadership that Mayor Frank needs in time of crisis. Abundance of Texas police officers failed to take action for over a year because of lack of leadership, while parents disregarding police officers entered the building to save children. We need police leadership that has skin in the game and will take immediate action. Also, in response to Mr. other comment, Trustee Jim Richmond has done an excellent job on the village board. He's a man of character and has my complete support for District 4 Will County Board, and I encourage everyone to vote for him. Our 2 new trustees, Melissa and Rob, are fast learners, and we should be thankful that they are willing to serve the residents of Mokena at the expense of being away from their families. Mayor Pro Tem George has done an excellent job of stepping up while Mayor Frank is recovering. Trustee Butson, a federal agent, is a great resource for the police. And we wish all Mayor Frank a quick resume to his leadership duties, but I don't have to do that. I'm glad that you're back.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you very much. Anyone else for public comments? Okay, consent agenda, Mr. Tomasowski.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. There are 2 items on the consent agenda this evening. First item is a motion to approve the minutes from the May 16, 2022 work session. And the second item is a motion to approve the minutes from the May 23, 2022 board meeting and work session.
Motion, please.
Mayor, move to approve consent agenda items 7A and B as depicted in the June 9, 2022 request for board action prepared by the village administrator.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Engler, seconded by Trustee Matanias. Any questions or comments on the board? We have a motion on the floor and properly seconded. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Engler? Aye. Trustee Matanias?
Aye.
Trustee Richmond?
Aye.
Trustee Butson?
Aye.
Trustee Dauphiné?
Aye.
And Trustee Fedora?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, Jan. Okay, monthly accounts payable. Ms. Dangles.
Thank you, Mayor Fletcher, and it's good to see you back.
It's good to be seen.
So for the board's review is the first accounts payable for June totaling $2,937,624.42. I'd like to take the opportunity to highlight 2 invoices to be paid. $885 to Chris's Cemetery Preservation, $103,250 to Davis Concrete Construction for pavement patching on Wolf Road. Should the board concur with staff's recommendation to approve the first monthly accounts payable for June, a motion would be in order. And I'll turn it back to you, Mayor.
Motion, please.
Mayor, move to approve the monthly accounts payable in the amount of $2,937,624.42.
Second.
Motion by trustee Engler, second by trustee Matenius. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Engler.
Aye.
Trustee Matenius.
Aye.
Trustee Richmond.
Aye.
Trustee Fedora.
Aye.
Trustee Dauphiné.
Aye.
And Trustee Budson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, Ms. Dangles. Okay, now we're going to move on to the budget. I need a motion to open up the public hearing.
So move.
Second.
Motion by trustee Engler, second by trustee Richmond. Any questions or comments on the board? We have a motion on the floor and properly seconded to go into a public hearing. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Engler.
Aye.
Trustee Richmond.
Aye.
Trustee Matenius.
Aye.
Trustee Fedora.
Aye.
Trustee Dauphiné.
Aye.
Trustee Budson.
Aye.
Okay, John, Sharon, you're on.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. Signalize, please. Thank you. So, on behalf of our fiscal 23 budget process here, I will do an overview as we traditionally done for our budget. First, a nice, excellent shot here, courtesy of Mr. Tom Hahn here at the village. Thank you for that. Perspective of our village overall. And with that, let's start the process. Building a budget here for our fiscal 23 budget. We went through a process for the public's information intentionally, category by category, and intentionally took a period here where we started with public meetings back in January. But to take a step back before we go through these dates, is the village staff here begins this process at the end of the fall of 2021 internally, works through some of the issues, some of the categories, brings them forward step by step with the mayor and board for recommendations by staff and discussion and direction from the board. Worked our way through this year, always a little different, but January, one in January, one in February, two in April, and the final one in May. And this particular budget had a little different, I'll say, twist to it, is yes, we worked through the budget, we worked through the departments and some of the traditional topics, but kind of going side and side with the budget throughout this process that the board acted on earlier this year was the award of the low bid here for the police station as well, our big capital project. Now, with respect to the fiscal year 23 proposed budget summary as a whole, the overall totals here from the fund balance opening, just over $75 million. Revenue looking to exceed on a conservative basis, just over $40.3 million. Expenditures just over 49.8, with an end funding balance of 65.5 million. Now can be, if just looking at the numbers looked at as we're going to spend more than we're taking in. However, if you focus on funds 22 and 23, the plant expansion, which is really, it's not necessarily an expansion, but the work, as you can see, is going on. We'll finalize the wastewater treatment plant upgrades here this year with the funding that's been set aside. Number one, and then number two, Fund 23, the capital improvement, repair, and replacement, that is the funding where we have right now for the police station, and that work with the award being awarded. We will start seeing that work here relatively soon here on our site on 191st. So taking a little bit different look here from the fiscal 23 budget fund balance, kind of a little different perspective of what the numbers mean. Big picture, fiduciary police pension, just over $31.2 million, and that's 48% of the budget overall. The capital funds, just over $19.8 million, 30% approximately. That includes the items that are listed to the right, the water and sewer system capital improvements, our sewer plant replacement, our plant expansion, and our capital improvement repair and replacement. Next by size is the general fund at approximately 9%, just over $5.7 million. And our special revenues at approximately 8%, just over $5.5 million, which is the audit, performance bond, tourism, our TIP, our school crossing guard, IMRF, Social Security, Medicare, and motor fuel tax, MFT. And last but not least is the enterprise funds at just over $3.1 million, or approximately 5%. And that's refuse, parking lot, water, and sewer. As we kind of move forward, before we get a little more into the details of the numbers, for the various funds. A little bit, I'll say, of the landscape, not only today, but kind of the process we work through and some of the issues, yes, we're facing as a village, but clearly in the state, the country, and really the world here as well. So highlighting them with pictures on the top left, illustrating here the inflation. Inflation as we're seeing in the costs as we're doing things, trying to do things, and projections here for next year. Obviously, we're receiving a great amount of inflation, and that's having an impact here on our costs as our expenditures this year and as we project them for next year. The flag here in the middle picture represented the conflict in Ukraine. Big picture, but ultimately, fundamentally here from a country, state, and ultimately gets down to us, some of the federal policies coming down. The bottom pictures, I know something we all face personally, but from a big picture, that is not a picture here of gas prices real locally, more of a generic one, but ties into inflation and really where we're going here with gas prices, transportation at all levels, whether it be automobile, plane, railroad, they're all having significant impacts. As we go to the right, I did not utilize the COVID symbol, as I think everyone's tired and sick of that actual symbol. But this, and you'll see it in the revenues, expenditures when we look a little bit big picture, but we continue to come out of COVID. The numbers are going to illustrate that here as we go forward, what it means from a revenue side and what it means from an expenditure side. And we knew we were hoping we budgeted conservatively for fiscal 22 revenues. As we kind of go through those numbers for various reasons, we did, and that was a good thing. And last but certainly not least, our last picture is going to be an illustration here of supply chain. Obviously all over the world, affects the country, affects the state, affects a lot of the things we're trying to do, trying to get done, and how we can do them, how effectively, how quickly we can do them, and at what cost. And a one step of looking ahead of what is the, and you could go name numerous items here, but looking ahead from a big picture perspective, what is going to affect the village from a big picture, especially financial perspective, and this isn't intended to be political, but it's the reality of the elections. Elections around the corner. As we know, early voting's going on right now. For the state elections, June 28th is the general primary. The general election is going to be this November 8th. The 6 state executive offices are up for election in 2022. The governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, secretary of state, treasurer, and comptroller. The Illinois General Assembly. So from a big picture perspective for us, sometimes you can see it ties directly, sometimes it's unfunded mandates that come through, but taxes and all sorts of policy decisions that are made in Springfield will definitely have a direct impact on the village of Mokena here as we go forward, and ultimately depends on who sits in those offices. So now let's get into the numbers a little bit here, first with the general fund. We'll start with where we ended fiscal year 22, and I say that obviously at the end of June. These are approximations, being very close, but some additional revenue and expenditures will come in, which we'll finalize here at the end of the calendar year. But from a big picture perspective, when we looked at fiscal year 22 revenues and expenditures from budgeted to anticipated, first you can see that the revenues came in significantly more, 4.6 million more. And two main reasons is one is being conservative coming out of COVID with overall revenues, but really the biggest significant impact is online sales tax, and we'll get into more detail on that number as we go forward. The fiscal year 22 expenditures from budgeted to anticipated also being over for various reasons. One, cost being higher on certain things and items here as we move forward. And a few things just with the new management team and working together and seeing some things differently and some big projects that we're moving forward. With that, with ending fiscal year 21 in a stronger position than anticipated at $715,000. We see that total, the excess fund balance, to bring our fund balance down to the 33% that we traditionally have it at. Still a very strong position. That leads the total amount to transfer of $5,060,000 here at the end of the year for a net positive operating results. So two items, I would say, a very strong, good, impressive number. But one, it should be noted, the capital equipment here for fiscal year 22, approximately $623,000 could not be purchased due to supply chain issues. So that number, it's going to be our anticipation unless the supply chain allows that to be a purchase in fiscal year 23, number one. And then number two, the policy decision the mayor and board made with that $5,060,000 here going forward is to put that for a significant portion of the payment from the police station. So the general fund review summary overall, the categories, actual fiscal 20 and 21, fiscal years 20 and 21 listed. Next is fiscal year budgeted for 22, estimated how we're going to end fiscal 22 and what's requested for 23. The amount change shows the number difference between department request for fiscal year 23, the difference from budgeted for fiscal year 22. So from a big picture perspective, the taxes, which is really the big driving force here, is sales tax and online sales tax. Once again, we'll get into some more detail on that here as we go forward. And then the other one that I think is significant because it doesn't traditionally happen, as you can see, the intergovernmental revenue state, that $1,371,665. That was our first initial payment here from the federal government for the American Rescue Plan Act. We do have it budgeted here for the next year for our second installment here as well. From a general fund expenditure summary, similar, exact same process here on top, and so I'll focus on the amount change for various departments: administrative, police department, street department, all higher from what's budgeted here for fiscal year 23 from 22. But a couple things driving that is the additional capital equipment, some projects here we're getting into, and a combination of inflation, and we'll get into a little more detail as we go forward. But bottom line, from total appropriations, the amount change you can see is budgeted for just over $2,040,000. Little big picture, general fund revenues and general fund expenditures from fiscal year 2014 through fiscal year 23. So a little bit of the trend, and I guess I'm going to focus on looking at 2021 of COVID, what it meant from a numbers perspective. So you can see the dip in revenues really as we kind of went forward and went on. And when we will look at those numbers in a little more detail, really the biggest dip is in miscellaneous revenues, not so much sales tax, the big one, or state income tax, but some of the ancillary ones, amusement tax, video game, those sorts of things that people actually had to be in places and doing them. Those were that took the biggest financial hit during that period. But as you can see, coming up and coming to a real strong position here projected for fiscal year 23. With respect to expenditures, not quite the jump up and down, but as you can see, fiscal year 23 is higher. One of the main driving forces is the capital fleet carrying over here, that's $623,000. So sales tax more directly here, changes in the 1% sales tax first throughout the years. So this chart goes back to fiscal year 2006, carries us through to estimated fiscal year 22, and then what's budgeted for fiscal year 23. Nice as you can see the big picture trends and how it's impacted the village here throughout the year. So first, 2009-10, you can see how the recession hits, what it means to the numbers, climbing out of that strong, and then I've highlighted it before, but that fiscal year 15 through fiscal year 18, the growth of 44% there during that time was a big, strong factor here, and for us to have the general fund surpluses, and quite frankly, that was a huge part of paying for the wastewater treatment plant during that time period. Growth kind of slows down here, that 2%. Actually interesting from in that COVID then goes to 8% here in fiscal year 21, 3%. And now, and it's not a disclaimer, it's not a wrong number, it does jump 30% here to fiscal year 22. Being very conservative, we see it going up 2% here for 23. And we'll dive into that number, that 30%. First is our local businesses doing very well, so the brick and mortar is doing well and improving. However, the biggest change is a change in state law and its online sales tax. So to kind of tell this story from an online sales tax point of view, you go back in time, and first in May of 2018, and I'll even backdate before then. The conversations were always from 2010 on at various levels of what happens on online sales tax, and times where you look at items people would buy online, sometimes depending on where they got it from and how it worked. there were no rules to this game. Sometimes you would pay sales tax, sometimes you wouldn't, many times you wouldn't. There was a thought and a process. The federal government would take the first initial lead and kind of make something collective for all the states, and this has kind of played its way through. So what the state of Illinois did first was in May of 2018, Illinois enacted legislation that allowed for the required collection of the state's use tax. Not sales tax, but use tax. The legislation required remote retailers, and it's by definition those who make 200 or more annual transactions or 100,000 or more in annual gross receipts, to collect that use tax on purchases made for use and consumption in Illinois. Now, that was, I'll say, a step in the right direction in this process. However, use tax significantly less, number one, in sales tax. Use tax is collected at a per capita basis. So part of the argument was it's not necessarily, it's brought back to everybody per capita, not necessarily on where these items were purchased. So the landmark decision that moved this forward in Illinois and gives every state the option occurred here in June 21st, 2018. That was when the United States Supreme Court overturned a prior precedent in a case, and it was commonly called South Dakota versus Wayfair. In this case, the court ruled that individual states have the authority to implement laws that require remote retailers to collect and remit taxes to the state where the purchaser lives. So the United States Supreme Court took that action to say, states, you can make the rules of the game for your particular state. So as a result of that landmark case, Illinois comes in now in 2019. Worked through it in the spring session. For those that recall, started the process, did not come to agreement, so they worked it into the fall session. It was in Illinois, they called that bill Leveling the Playing Field for Illinois Retail Act. It was passed November 14, 2019, and at this point now it required both remote retailers and the marketplace facilitators to collect and remit the state and locally imposed retailer's occupational tax, also known as the sales tax, for the jurisdiction where the product is delivered, its destination, starting January 1st, 2021. So at this point, by the time the state starts collecting it, there's that lag between when the state collects and we get it. So the significant, almost all of 2022 now, that 30% increase, a significant portion, we cannot tell from the state the difference online sales tax versus our sales tax. However, it is the significant portion here going forward. And just another rule point, at that time this bill was passed, the Illinois Retail Merchants Association estimated this new law could generate $465 million annually in the state of Illinois in additional sales tax revenue. The state could receive, they believe, approximately $85 million per state fiscal year, according to those estimates. Still seeing the IML has not put out the first year. I'm hoping they'll do it here at the end of this calendar year to see what actually happened. And then more reports came out estimating that these numbers came a little low because this goes back to 2019 before COVID. As many, I think, believe and recall, after COVID, online sales tax even took an additional increase. So that is the driving force with the additional revenue here for the village. Now we go big picture here again in the net positive operating results. So I'm going back to fiscal year 2013 up to fiscal year 2022. And so the positive net operating results from the general fund during that time are $26,780,000. So what that means, big picture for this village, and kudos to the mayor and board here, is not only one, it's managed to a way, the village has managed to a way to provide these services to our residents, and now to have this funding. And not only is this funding here, but what do you use it for? During this time period, this funding was used for additional infrastructure, payment to the pension above and beyond a required amount, and most significantly for the last chunk of years, this is a driving force of why we did not have to take out a loan for the wastewater treatment plant. The majority of it came out of this funding, number one, and number two, out of approximately $18 million total for a police station. With tonight's action, the board will consider a promissory note for $4,750,000, the rest of it paying for it with cash that we do have. Now, going into the police station a little bit, it is, like I said, the big capital project that the village worked on very hard here throughout the process. Mr. Zollner did a nice job back in the spring to highlight all the work the police station committee, the mayor board, the staff here as well to get us to this point, and a lot of action has been taken. So my goal isn't to cover that, but a little bit more big picture. So where we're at, the big capital project going through, and that is obviously set up in this budget, is the police station. And as a reminder, the low bid was awarded to Henry Brothers here at the April 25th meeting. We executed that contract at the May 9th board meeting. We will soon this summer be seeing the work start here on 191st, so I know we're all looking forward to that. And now going on, and we will be presented to the board for their consideration this evening, was the financial side of it. So the financial side of it is first Ms. Damron, and then Ms. Dangles and I worked with PMA, Mr. Bob Lewis here from the financing side of it. And I know Mr. Lewis found us to be challenging clients because he said most of my clients just call me and say they want $18 million. How do we do it? We decided to say maybe we need money, maybe we don't. We want to do this the right way, be conservative, not back ourselves in a corner. And we went through a lot of analysis, which I'm very happy and pleased we did to get to this point, to get here. And as a result of that, the required action later this, or recommended action, later this evening will be the ordinance passing the issuance of $4.75 million of promissory notes to fund the remainder of the police station. Now, with respect to the enterprise funds, the refuse, parking lot, water, and sewer. First, the refuse fund, and this is set up by the work that Mr. Kalisa kind of presented to the board here this spring with our contract here with Homeland Disposal. So that's based off those numbers and the 3.4% increase here going into July 1st. With that being said, with the revenue looking at $1,690,000, expenses at $1,686,000, that'll leave the fund balance strong at just over $208,000 and keep that service moving forward. Next is the parking lot fund. From a big picture perspective, the fund has taken one step, I'll say, forward in recovering here from COVID. So the revenues are not back to pre-COVID, but they are getting better. So for fiscal year 23 revenue, just under $98,000, and the expenses just over $152,000. So I know it's not quite balanced out yet, but it still leaves it at a very healthy fund balance percentage-wise for that fund of just under $74,000. Now, water and sewer. Water sewer rates here as we go forward. Due to the health of the funds here and the fund balances, which will be proposed here later this evening to the mayor and board by Financial Director Dangles once again, is an ordinance for the pass-through rates here for the water, no local increase, but the pass-through, what I mean by pass-through, through the Lake Michigan Water, purchasing it from Chicago. They have a 5% increase for us, which amounts to 21 cents per 1,000 gallons. The delivery component, Oak Lawn, 1 cent per 1,000 gallons. And it's under the local component by contractual, Tinley Park, but that's also delivery component of 3 cents per 1,000 gallons. So what we're proposing here this evening will be 25 cents per 1,000 gallons. And once again, that will all be passed through. No recommendation to the local component for that, number one. Number two, once again, due to the health of the fund and the fund balance, there's no proposed increase here to the sewer rates here for fiscal year 23, and I'll cover that in a little more detail. Now, the numbers for the water operating fund summary. First, fiscal year 22 review. It's labeled as budgeted expected changes. So the beginning fund balance a little stronger on just under $65,000. Revenue came in a little stronger at just over $241,000. Expenses a little higher at $167,000 for various reasons. So the ending fund balance here for fiscal year 22 in a very strong, healthy position of a fund balance moving from 39 to 50%. So segue to fiscal year 23 below, same sort of format. The increase here to the beginning fund balance once again. Revenues projecting conservatively or modestly and seeing a slight decrease, $80,888. Expenses going higher for some work and some capital and some projects in there at $682,000 an increase. So it will go from a projected 50% fund balance to 37, very still strong and healthy over the 25%, over just over $2.2 million. Looking at it from a long-term chart perspective of fiscal year 2012 through fiscal year budget of 2023, that green line represents the standard 25% fund balance as traditionally recommended by the outside auditing firms. As you can see, various points we've been above and below that, and due to the numbers, we're on a strong, stable side of that, number one. And then number two, the water fund has not changed historically over years. The driving force in that is the Lake Michigan Water, the buying and selling of it. That equates to approximately 56% of that fund. Now, with respect to sewer, the fiscal year 22 review, first, same setup, beginning fund balance, revenue expenses, ending fund balance. Beginning fund balance a little higher, revenue is a little higher, just under 70,000, expenses higher than anticipated with some of the unforeseen work at just over 224. Ending fund balance, though, very strong, being a little higher, go from 34 to 57%. Segue into the work scheduled and revenues budgeted conservatively, as well as the expenses for fiscal year 23. So we see an increase in the beginning fund balance, a little slight decrease in the revenue of just over 68,000, increase in the expenses of 626,000 for an ending fund balance of just over 642,000 and a 27% fund balance. Same chart as the water in the same time frame, 2012 fiscal year to fiscal year budgeted 2023. That red line with triangles represents that same concept of 25% fund balance. And so being where we're at, we ended with a very high fund balance, 22, and the work we're going to do allows us to do some work, buy some equipment, not raise that rate here for fiscal year 23. And once again, no proposed rate adjustment here in those numbers due to that. Now, the question raised on the slide and kind of the point is, how do you effectively manage your water and sewer rates going forward? And this is a long-range one that actually, I think, been in play here when this board first started talking about getting Lake Michigan water, in the 90s, working through the sewer plant and starting to save that money quite some time ago when the village knew the process was going to happen. But I know this when the growth was still occurring, had some of those tap-on fees set aside. But you have a lot of financial discipline, planning, you save for that funding for the wastewater treatment plant upgrades. So we used this 11.2 cash on hand, did not take out a loan. What does that mean? It means tonight's like tonight where you can pass a budget with the sewer rates staying the same. This mayor and board's not kicking the can down the road. They're doing the fundamental process that we need to do at the wastewater treatment plant, but yet those rates aren't going to be on here for a 20-year loan as they traditionally are with IEPA. So a very good process there. It's kind of the hidden one is the long-term Lake Michigan water system improvements. We're currently part of the regional water system that's designed to, the regional water system based out of Oak Lawn. It's designed to serve our regional growth and reliability for the next 50 years. We have approximately another 4 years of construction, but our portion of those to not only keep a strong Lake Michigan system, but build some redundancy in it. We have that financing in place from some of the original Lake Michigan water bonds that have gone away. Instead of utilizing those monies in different directions, we're setting those aside. So long term, we won't have to put those costs on the water rates as well. So what this means long term for the village is our water fund, not only today financially here at the village, long-term infrastructure is getting worked on in a very strong capacity, and we have a mechanism to pay for that that doesn't add to the water rate. The sewer, same concept, doing the work right now, not adding to it. So I'm very proud and happy to say not only today, but the next 5, 10, 15 years, what this is going to mean to our water sewer rates and our quality versus others, I think is going to get substantially different. Once again, hats off to the mayor and board here, hats off to the previous mayor and board, because this wasn't a 1-2 year thing. This is a cultural philosophy that's been played the long game for a very long time. We're starting to see a lot of the fruits of that labor. Now, the operating fund balances from a big picture perspective, the general fund, water, sewer, parking lot, from the beginning fund balance for fiscal year 22 and 23, ending the fiscal year 23 and the amount recommended in those variances. So kind of highlight the actual percentages there at the end, 41, 37, 27, 48. So we're in a strong position in all those funds, either as we're moving capital projects forward, or the can's not getting kicked down the road for the next group, or to have to raise something to bring those into suitable levels. Now, some of the village improvements listed on the left is vehicles.
highlighted here with supply chain issues. The police department was thankfully able to get their squads here last year, but every other department here kind of unfortunately supply chain had to wait and see. So we're anticipating not only the police department getting their 3 squads and add electric ATV, but the other departments playing a little catch up. I know most notably the Department of Public Works. We moved forward with the purchasing of a street sweeper here back in January. Due to supply chain issues, we haven't been able to receive it. We're hoping to receive it here in fiscal year 23 as we go forward. And certainly some of the different projects that the mayor and board gave us direction here to budget for in fiscal year 23. First is a comprehensive plan to update our current comprehensive plan, number 1. Number 2, a tree survey. Certainly part of our infrastructure. Mr. Kalisa and his team have worked to find out an avenue where we can get 50% of that funded opportunity through a grant, so we'll work through that process. And then third, some additional flock cameras that Chief Benton and his team looked at to add to that system that's been very effective to us, so we're looking forward to that improvement here as well in fiscal year 23. From an infrastructure improvements, big picture perspective, I think the village, we're looking to continue a lot of, although sometimes it's not the glamour work, but this is the stuff, the nuts and bolts here for the village going forward. And this plan has all of the traditional infrastructure improvements going for another year. And this includes approximately just under $1.3 million to resurface approximately 2.7 miles of our local roads. $636,000 for infrastructure repair, which includes curbs, sidewalks, light streets. $110,000 approximately for some pedestrian-related upkeep and improvements. And from an infrastructure point of view, paving half of the Hickory Creek Metro lot with funding here from the general fund. So half that lot to pave. We're looking at the east side this year. So when some of that usage is down a little bit, we keep that asset here in good shape here as we move forward as time goes on. Now we'll end with a shot here of Village Hall and the sun coming on, and just a couple of my closing comments. Very happy and proud not only of the financial progress with the budget itself, the numbers from a big picture perspective, but now, we're very happy and fortunate to be finishing the first project during this fiscal year budget, the wastewater treatment plant going forward. We're segueing into another very important one, the police station. We're doing it with a very healthy fund balance from a financial perspective. Now, the behind the scenes and the how we got here point, certainly would like to give a kudos and thank you to this table I'm sitting with. We started back in the fall and we worked through this process. I guess I was the last of the Mohegans of the same person in the same position from one budget year to the next budget year. So I think the team, we worked through it. Everybody saw it a little differently. Everybody rolled up their sleeves. We had to communicate our way through maybe of doing things differently than past department heads did, looking at it differently and work through it. But we certainly got here. We put a budget together with certainly the direction and guidance of the mayor and board here throughout this process. But the process behind the scenes and working with the mayor and board, I think different. We all realize that, productive and something we enjoyed. And I certainly want to thank this team I'm sitting with and the men and women that are in the various departments, because not only was it with a different group, but I think if you look at the challenges as we're going forward this last year and the year before that, we are going through a lot of a hiring growth, not because we're adding new positions, but between retirements, some of the internal promotions, it seems like you fill one position to have two more open up on you. So a lot of work behind the scenes by people at this table, and I know they've told me the people that are working with our staff, I kudos to them. It was a great job all the way around here to get to this point, so we're very proud of that. So Mayor and Board, I will hand it back to you and we'll try to entertain any questions.
All right, does anybody have any questions or comments? Let's start on Melissa.
No, I do not have any questions. Thank you very much for that very detailed presentation. I do appreciate it. And I don't have any questions because it was so detailed. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Melissa.
No questions, Mayor. Thank you. No questions, but a compliment to you, John, Sharon, and the staff. A great presentation. I know it takes a lot of time to put this together, so I give you guys a lot of credit, so thank you.
Thanks, George. Debbie?
Yes, thank you, John, Sharon, staff. I know it had to be difficult because there's a lot of new faces out there, but you did a great job, and we appreciate all you do, and thank you.
Trustee Richmond.
Thanks, Mayor. No, just for our residents, I mean, this document here has been worked on for 6 months or so, and John, you and your team have done a great job. And some of the comments that you made about our sound, financial positions, not only with these capital projects, but also with our reserves and our funds and that. So it's this board, but it's prior boards and administrations that have managed to maintain this. And I think you used a key word. We're playing the long game here. So thank you very much for your time and your efforts, staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Trustee Dolphiny.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to echo the other trustees. Thank you, John, for your presentation tonight, and to the village staff for all your work throughout the year. What a great educational guide for residents to have guiding our financial and operating plan. So thank you again for the wonderful presentation. And there's a lot of things in there that we're excited about going into the next fiscal year. And if I can choose just a couple, it's obviously the police station is super exciting, as well as the comprehensive plan that's been budgeted going forward. So thank you to the village staff. Thank you to the village board. Looking forward to a great year.
Thanks, Rob. And if there's any comments, this is a public hearing. Are there any comments from anybody in the audience? Any questions about the budget? Okay.
Mayor, I'm sorry.
Please.
Not a comment as a resident, just a comment I'm remiss on as I work through online, and I certainly I recognize the team and I recognize the staff. I did want to especially recognize Sharon for the fact that I know that she walked into it obviously a professional finance director, but she came in like I told her good news, bad news. She came in at that perfect time for starting the budget. But I think she worked through a process, realized, I'll say, a lot of the Mokena ways, and I think she has some good idea to change some things going forward. But I know certainly a lot of work and effort here for this whole time, so I wanted to highlight that a little bit as well.
Well, I think the wait for Mayor's comments, probably the comment here is that John and I spoke a lot while I was away. I knew pretty much everything that was going on. Pretty much everything that was going on in the village. John kept me informed. And one of the things that John said earlier was extremely important. This budget was done with a lot of new people, a lot of new ideas, a lot of new input, and this is tough. When you're working with the same people for 15, 20 years, it's just a little easier to do this. But John, you worked with new people. The new people had to feel comfortable. Sharon, you came in and you did a fantastic job for us. Thank you very much, because it couldn't have been easy. When you step into something new, it's not that easy. And you guys came up with the budget. And I'll tell you, John, I've been saying this since I've been up here. This is a philosophy that was started a long, long time ago. And it's something that this village has stuck with. We might be very frugal, but you don't see anybody's taxes going up. And that really is the bottom line. It's not a restaurant here. It's not this over here. It's when they open that tax bill, they don't see a lot of money coming out from the village of Mokena. And that's the most important thing we've done over the years. Because you can sit back and make all the comments you want when you don't know what you're talking about. But when you sit up here and you do the work that we do, you really realize how important all of yous are. The staff, the elected officials, the residents. It's a team effort. And I thank you, staff, very much for the work you've done on this. So I need a motion to go back into,
Close the public hearing.
Close public hearing, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Engler, second by trustee Mathenius to close the public hearing. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Engler. Aye. Trustee Matanius.
Aye.
Trustee Richmond.
Aye.
Trustee Fedora.
Aye.
Trustee Hudson.
Aye.
Trustee Dolphine.
Aye.
Motion carried. Now I need the motion to accept the budget.
Mayor, move to approve ordinance number 2022-0-007, an ordinance adopting the Mokena annual budget for fiscal year 2022-2023, and authorize the village president and village clerk to execute same.
Second.
Motion by trustee Engler, seconded by trustee Mathenius. We have a motion on the floor and properly seconded. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Engler.
Aye.
Trustee Matanius.
Aye.
Trustee Richmond.
Aye.
Trustee Fedora.
Aye.
Trustee Dolphine.
Aye.
Trustee Hudson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you again, staff and John. Okay, now, Ms. Dangles, you're up again for the water and sewer ordinance.
All right, thank you, Mayor. As Administrator Tomaseski mentioned earlier in his budget presentation, there will be a water rate adjustment of 25 cents per 1,000 gallons of water, which will increase the current rate from $7.89 per 1,000 gallons to $8.14 per 1,000 gallons. This rate will go into effect on July 1st. However, our water customers will not see the increase until they receive their August bills. The monthly impact to the utility invoice for an average user of 8,000 gallons a month would be an additional $2. All other water and sewer rates will remain the same. Should the board concur with the proposed ordinance, a motion would be in order. Back to you, Mayor Fletcher.
Okay, I need a motion, please.
Mayor, move to adopt ordinance number 2022-0-008, an ordinance pertaining to municipal water and sewer fees, and to authorize village president and village clerk to execute same.
Second.
Motion by trustee Engler, seconded by trustee Matanius. Any questions or comments to Sharon? A motion on the floor and properly seconded. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Engler.
Aye.
Trustee Matanius.
Aye.
Trustee Butson.
Aye.
Trustee Dauphiné.
Aye.
Trustee Fedora.
Aye.
Trustee Richmond.
Aye.
Okay, last one, Sharon, the police facility promissory note ordinance.
All right, thank you, Mayor. As Administrator Tomaseski mentioned in the budget presentation, there is a promissory note ordinance for the board's approval this evening. There were several work sessions held where Bob Lewis from PMA Securities and Administrator Tomaseski provided a financial overview of the village's options to fund for the new police station. The board directed staff to work with PMA Securities on issuing a promissory note for up to $7 million to help fund the police station project. The village's administration recommends that the village issue $4.75 million of promissory notes to provide for the remainder of the police facility funding. Should the board concur with the proposed recommendation, a motion would be in order.
Thank you, Sharon. Motion, please.
Mayor, move to approve ordinance number 2022-0-009, providing for the issuance of not to exceed $7 million general obligation promissory notes, Series 2022, of the Village of Mokena for the purpose of financing various capital improvement projects in and for the village, including but not limited to building and equipping a new public safety facility for the village, and authorizing the sale of said notes to the purchaser.
Second.
Motion by trustee Engler, second by trustee Matanius. Any questions or comments from the board? You have a motion on the floor and properly seconded. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Engler.
Aye.
Trustee Matanius.
Aye.
Trustee Butson.
Aye.
Trustee Dauphiné.
Aye.
Trustee Richmond.
Aye.
Trustee Fedora.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, Sharon. Okay, what do we got here? Okay, village administrator comments.
Thank you, Mayor. And Mr. Ziska will lead us off this evening.
Thank you, John. Good evening, board, and welcome back, Mayor.
Thank you.
So tonight, pleased to announce some of the newest additions to Mokena's business community. Starting with Kari Coiffure and Spa, which provides hairstyling, microblading, and cosmetic services, located at 9405 Gourmet Drive, unit number 5. I'd like to welcome John Asperic Company, which is an accounting firm that just opened up in our Mokena Crossing Business Park, located just north of 191st Street. Welcome to EV Machinery and Tools, which is a small family-owned business that just opened up in our 80th Avenue Industrial Park. I'd like to welcome GRW Group, which is a commercial kitchen that provides a cooking space for startup businesses or those looking to test the local food market before investing in a brick-and-mortar location. Just off of, just east of LaGrange Road, north of the White Castle here. And then we'd, last but not least, like to welcome GFL Environmental Services USA, which specializes in waste management services across all industries, from public, residential, and commercial waste collection and management. So that concludes my portion of tonight's presentation. I'll turn it back over to you, John.
Matt. Working with our partners here at Silver Cross Hospital here to get an update as of today. With respect to COVID-19, they do have 27 inpatients at this time with respect to COVID. The community levels, they indicate, are at a medium risk. Community transmission risk is high. So from their perspective, they did note by the end of the week they're looking to see approval for COVID vaccines in the 6-month to 5-year category. And just some median level prevention steps here are listed below that Silver Cross gave us that here to share. Is if those interested get tested if you have symptoms, stay up to date with your COVID-19 vaccines. Wear a mask if you have symptoms, a positive test of exposure, or if you're taking the public transportation. And if you're at high risk for severe illness, talk to your healthcare provider about whether you need to wear a mask and take other precautions. Once again, I want to just kind of keep disseminating this information out so everyone can make decisions for themselves and their loved ones educated. With that, on a little lighter note and from a summer kind of fun aspect, and for those that have the time, it's certainly Danny Potter Days coming here at Joliet Slammers game. With, I believe, Mr. Potter throwing out the first pitch again. So Tuesday, June 21st, 6:35. Nice to obviously root Danny on for that first pitch.
I do expect everyone to be there for Danny.
I think Danny expects everybody to be there.
Danny expects everybody to be there.
Well, he has reminded us all.
So if you do have that opportunity, and if nothing else, wish Danny luck before that date. And last but not least, we are getting into the real summer heat now. So as a reminder for all our residents here and constituents and for your loved ones, is the Village Hall is our temporary cooling center. If something does happen to family members or any your family members, neighbors, police non-emergency number 708-479-3912 to make arrangements. Available for these extreme weather conditions. So please check on your relatives, neighbors, elderly, pets, all those kind of things here the next couple of days. You're going to experience that extreme heat. And if you do need us as a cooling center, keep us in mind. That's what we have, Mayor.
Thank you, John. Trustee comments. Ms. Fedora.
Thank you, Mayor. A reminder that the 4th of July parade is taking place at 10 a.m. on July 4th this year. If you would like to participate in the parade, of course, you can be a business, you can be a nonprofit, you can be a citizen. If you want to just get a group of friends, neighbors together, there is no charge for nonprofits and citizens. You could start a new 4th of July tradition. If you have a cool collector car, anything really that you want to participate. Or, of course, you can come out and be a spectator, 10 a.m., the normal route, the LaPorte and Wolf. And then looking forward to seeing everyone on Wednesday. I won't say much about that because I'm sure Trustee Engler has a lot to say about it. So I'll just say looking forward to seeing everyone Wednesday downtown, and of course Danny Potter Day on June 21st. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Trustee Butson?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, thanks to the staff for all their efforts on putting the budget together. I know they're, with all the new members, it had to be challenging, but thanks for putting that together, and just welcome back, Mayor.
Thank you, Joe, very much. Trustee Mathenius?
Mayor, I just want to say welcome back. Long journey, but you made it. Welcome back. You're a strong guy, very strong guy. Also, I want to give some kudos to Trustee Engler for the food trucks. A lot of work. You pretty much did that yourself. So
No, I had help.
well, a lot of it was done by you, and if not directly by you, you had people that directed. But thank you for doing that. I think the residents of Mokena are going to enjoy that, and it's a good opportunity to get out, take your kids, grandkids, whatever, and just have some try out some foods, different types that are going to be up there, and enjoy the time that's there in our downtown. A couple of comments about our budget I just want to make. We, as a board, and the past boards, are very conservative with our spending, and that's not our money, it's the residents' money that we're spending. That doesn't mean we don't have things or don't get things done just to save money. We get everything that we need taken care of, and that's how we were able to get to the point of our sewer treatment plant being funded and the majority of the money for our police station. I'm going to repeat a comment that Trustee Mazzarano used to always say, and it's true that Darvin Furniture has 2 sales a year, makes as much money as McDonald's would do the whole year. So our industrial area, most people have industrial, ours bring in tax revenue, a major amount of tax revenue, and that's not by accident. That's by a board that's up there looking out for the residents of Mokena. The budget, again, John, Sharon, staff, fantastic job. That's what has to be on Facebook to show people what this board and this staff gets done this whole year. Not just controversial things, but good things that we work hard to make happen. It's not by accident whatsoever. So I just say again, congratulations, great job. And Mayor, welcome back, and that's all I got.
Thank you, George. Trustee Engler?
Welcome back. It's so nice to see you here in person.
Oh,
Even though we've talked many times while you were gone, glad to have you back. Quick note to the residents. I read somewhere, I don't know where, but garbage collection, because it's going to be so hot tomorrow, is starting at 6 a.m. So I would recommend, unless you want to get up really, really early to run them to the curb, put them out this evening. And as for food trucks on front, which is something new we're starting this Wednesday from 4 to 8 in the west end of the Metro lot. We're only going to have a few trucks this time because we want to see what the reaction's going to be, but I do have interest from several people now contacting me saying, you know, do you need face painters? Do you need this? Do you need that? So hopefully we'll see how it goes this Wednesday and we'll expand on that. I'd like to thank the village board and staff for allowing me to go forward with this. Public Works, Police Department, the Park District, Homewood Disposal, and Service Sanitation for all your efforts in helping me get this going. I know there's probably going to be some kinks that we're going to have to work out, but please bear with us. If you have any comments or suggestions, you can email, text, call. My number's on the website. But I'd like to highlight some of the existing businesses that are down there that this may help. Zap Taco. People are going to come from who knows where, and they're going to say, oh, look, there's Zap Taco. There's Little Al's. Aurelio's down around the corner on Wolf, Tribes, etc. I think this is going to help a lot of those businesses too, because people are going to recognize they're down there. So hopefully we'll get there. And like I said, please be patient with us, but I hope to see you all out there. It's going to be warm, and we'll see how it goes.
Thank you, Debbie.
Oh, good.
Trustee Richmond.
Frank, it's good to see you back. I know we talked a number of times, and I'm glad to see you physically here. So thank you very much for all of your work behind the scenes over the past couple months and that. So also too, Melissa, you mentioned about the 4th of July parade and that, and I do look forward to sitting next to you and doing the announcing on that day. So hopefully you're working on some decent weather for us this year. And then last thing, Bob, I see you out there in the audience, and I think you and I had a little bit of a conversation a couple months ago in regards to our financial position. And do you remember what that word was that you said about our financial position on this?
I think was it unique?
Remarkable. Remarkable. You were close. But that's something that sticks in. Is stuck with me for this whole time, is because you see a lot of municipalities, you see a lot of financial transactions, and I think, John, you made the point they're looking for how much money can we get. We're looking at the reverse. How much, the limited amount of money that we need so that we can go and finish this project off. So thank you very much for coming close to that word, but it was remarkable. So just want to let the residents know that. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Trustee Duffman.
Thank you, Mayor. Number one, it's good to see you.
It's good to be seen, believe me.
Yes. Thank you and welcome back.
Thank you.
I'll just touch on again with the comprehensive plan. It's a big part of it, but the budget for next year. Thank you again, John and team, for putting it together, and the village board. That presentation tonight's just a wonderful educational guide about the history of our financial policy, how it's gotten us to where we are today, and we're looking to go here next year. So I encourage, I don't know if we put that on our website, but that's a terrific guide for people to understand what's taking place here at the village. So again, thank you for everyone's work on that. And I do want to make mention of big thanks to Mokena Baseball Softball Association. They held a wonderful softball parade through the downtown area last Sunday that finished up at Main Park. Great picnic and hot dogs for everybody. So I'd just like to thank all the organizers for putting together a terrific family event. And that's all my comments for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. First comments.
Just wanted to welcome you back. It's so nice to come right and see you
Thank
there.
you very much. And I'm going to start out with a quote that was attributed to Mark Twain, because I think it's really apropos now. Rumors of my demise have been very much exaggerated. As you can see, I'm sitting here, I feel good, and I'm the mayor of Mokena. And I'm going to be the mayor of Mokena for a long time. And I want people to understand it. You voted me into this office. You put me here for a reason. You want me to do the job I've been doing for the past 9 years. I'm going to do it. So, George? Thank you very much. George, thank you very much for taking over the 4 months.
My pleasure.
You did a good job. You kept things moving. You got some important things done while I was gone, and the important thing is that you ran the meetings very smoothly.
My pleasure, Frank. Thank
And
you.
I appreciate that, and thank you for your concern. Board, you got a lot of stuff done. I appreciate the board coming together on the police facility, the safety facility. I know there was differences, but when we had to get together, the board came together and we moved forward on that. And I thank you all very much for that. I am looking forward to the next meeting, because at that meeting, I have a few people that I want to thank for me being here. And we'll talk about that next meeting. I want to keep tonight's meeting on the, as joyful as I can. It's good to be back here. There's some things that kind of upset me a little bit, but I don't want to talk about them tonight. But believe me, in 2 weeks I will be talking about them. So, John, again, thank you for helping me through this. Thank you for calling me up and coming over, keeping me informed with everything that was going on in the village. When you're tied up for a little bit, when you're laid up for a little bit, my mind is fine. The muscles had to get back into shape, and that's why it took me a little while to get here. But thanks everyone for the concern. I can't believe all the cards and the phone calls I got from people. It's nice. It's really nice when you get that. It makes you very humble. And I thank everyone for that. I thank everyone for their concern. People that sent me different mass cards. Joe, you were one of them. Thank you very much. And it meant a lot to me. When you're laid up like that, just to see that stuff and hear from you folks, it does mean a lot, believe me. But, okay, that's it. Like I say, 2 weeks, there'll be a little more to talk about. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Engler, seconded by trustee Matanius. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. We are adjourned.